If we listen, the Lord will speak. Y'all, it's just that simple. And when He speaks, if we will obey, He will unleash blessings on us that we couldn't even imagine. Now, that's not our motive for doing it, but it's a reward for doing it. Let's not fool ourselves. He has a bigger plan than we even realize. And it's time to stop messing around, and it's time to step into that. He has a plan for your life. He has a plan. And what makes us think that our plan is so much better? I will never know. Why do we even do that? I don't know. All right, but the message that the Lord gave me today, and you're going to be like, you know what? I don't know how you'll be. But sometimes we're like, it's not me, or that's not for me. I don't want you to listen anyway, okay? And listen to the end, because there's real practical application to this. This isn't just something from 2,000 years ago that doesn't apply to today. Y'all, it does. It so does. It so does. Okay. The scripture I'm going to read from is Exodus, and I know we're going way back. I know. But it's okay, because what He said to me is, and I know it's not just for me, but I think we need to take every message, every scripture, everything, every time we're in church, every time we hear somebody preach, and just listen. Now, discern the spirits, yes. If it's coming from somebody that can't be trusted, then don't listen to them anymore. But try every spirit. And then when we're listening to a trusted source, instead of thinking, oh, this one needs to hear that, or oh, I wish that one could hear that, or oh, it would be great if, I'm gonna, not that we can't share messages with others that we know will hit home with them, but what if we applied it to us? Oh, this is for me. Going into, the first two letters of message is me. So if we apply ourselves to every message we hear, like, this is for me, M-E, me, we would get so much more out of it. Our focus would be on Him and what He is trying to say to us, to me. So let's go that route. What He said today, the message is 4 little words, but it has such great impact. Don't put me last. Last. Don't put me last. In our everyday, are we putting Him last? In our thought processes, are we putting Him last? In our choices, are we putting Him last? In our lifestyle, are we putting Him last? Let's go to Exodus 20. There's just, I'm sure you can guess where I'm going. Well, maybe you can't, but here we go. Exodus 20, verses 1 through 3 says this. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He wants to be first. Now, why does He want to be first? Not because He's some selfish God, not because He's prideful, not because He's narcissistic, not because He's all self-absorbed and self-focused, but He wants to be first, because if we put Him first, we then fall under His protective covering. We then fall under His guidance. We then fall under His plan. And He has everything worked out for us. But we have to trust Him enough. Not just trust Him a little, but trust Him enough to put Him first. Put Him above our wants and needs. Because, see, here's the deal. We think we're sacrificing so much, but He is meeting every need. He's even meeting the wants. He says that He will give us the desires of our heart. No other gods before me. Anything we put between us and Him, we're idolizing. It becomes our idol. It becomes our God. We don't like to realize that. We don't like to think on that, but that is the way it is. And if we're choosing it instead of Him, or if we're choosing our way instead of His way, that's what we're doing. I know it hurts a little. It hurts a little to hear that. But that's fact. That is what He's saying. So, He wants to be first. So to you I ask, is he first? Is he really? Let's self-evaluate for a little bit. Is he really first in your life? Is he really first? Okay, let's back up one more book. We're getting pretty close to the beginning here. Genesis 22 in verses 1 through 19. And I want to share this with you too. And in verse 1, and it came to pass after these things. Now we're jumping back from Moses, back to Abraham. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. First, if you say, here I am to God, I need you to know that he's going to hear you. You need to know that he's going to use you. You need to know that he's going to send you. You need to know that he's going to mold you into who you need to become and able to do that. It's not always an easy road, but it is so rewarding and wonderful, and we just got to it's a process though too, and we've got to get to that place, and we've got to trust him enough to get there, to let him pull us into that place. But there's a word in here that I wanted to point out, and it says tempt. We don't think about that God did tempt Abraham. Tempt Abraham? What does that even mean? God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. Well, if we look that up, of course, tempt in the way that we're used to it, to entice, to do wrong by promise of pleasure or gain. For example, he was tempted by the woman at the bar. He was tempted by the woman at work. There's this promise of, oh, that'll be great for a while, or that'll feel good, or oh, she listens to me, or this life over here looks better than what I currently have, which every life takes work. Every life takes intention. So that grass over there that looks so green, it's just, it depends on what grass you water, and to how green it is, and to how everything takes work. Relationships take work, but that's one way of tempting. To cause or induce to be strongly inclined to do something. Like I was tempted to call it quits. Like I was right there. I was so close. There's another way that tempt can be used. Listen to this one. To risk the dangers of. Go back to the man that was tempted by the woman. To risk the dangers of losing everything for that? Is it worth it? And that's true with anything. It doesn't have to be that kind of temptation. Whatever you're tempted by, whether it be anything, to risk the dangers of driving fast. You could get a ticket. Can you afford that? Do you want that? Do you want to pay higher insurance because of that? You could have an accident. It could literally kill you because of your speed. To risk the dangers of. It could be so many things. You want that candy bar, but it's so toxic. You want to live on sugar, but it's poison. You want to eat packaged food because it's so quick and easy, but they're killing you. To risk the dangers of, the convenience of, the pleasure for a season of. But get this, the obsolete definition of that is to make trial of, to test. Oh my goodness. Now when you look back at that version, that definition, and why these go obsolete, I don't know. Our English language changes stuff so often, adds stuff that shouldn't be even in the dictionary, and changes the things that are. And then, I strongly suggest look everything up. We are never too old to learn, and sometimes we use words in ways that we thought were accurate, and because we've heard them that way over and over our whole lives, and they're not. They're just not. It's like, oh, that's what that word means. To test, to make trial of. So if we go back to that God did tempt Abraham, that he did make a trial of this, that he did make a test of this. And as this goes on, verse 2, and he said, take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of. There's another time that he uses with Abraham, go into a land I will tell you. I mean, he at least tells him Moriah, but he doesn't tell him where he's going to do this exactly. And Abraham had such faith that he would just go. He would just go. We need to have that kind of faith that we can just go. We need to just do. God, are you sending me? Okay, here I am. And Abraham rose up early in the morning. He wasted no time. He didn't go to 17 council members. He didn't go to 14 friends. He didn't ask his sister. He just went. He just went early in the morning, not late in the afternoon, not 7 days later. He just went early in the morning. He got about what God told him to do. All right, and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. He got everything he would need for the journey. He got everything he would need for what God asked him to do, and he just went to the place he told him. He just went to do it. He just assumed this was going to come to pass. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. Why did he say that? If he knew what he was going to do, but he's willing to do it anyway. And he knows that he and Isaac will come back down. Why? Did he believe in God enough that if he did this, gave up his promise, this Isaac, this son that God had promised him after all this time, and the promise finally comes true, and then you want me to give it up and sacrifice it? God wanted it to be first. He didn't need an Isaac in his way. And sometimes we idolize the promise, we idolize the vision, we idolize what God's told us or whatever. Instead, we get it in the way of what God really wants to do with us and our relationship with him. He has to be our focus, not the promises. The relationship with him, he wants to be first. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. At this moment, Isaac has got to be going like, wait, what? And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. So he's like, I'm carrying the wood. Okay. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, here's where he's starting to be like, aren't we missing something? And said, my father. And he said, here I am, son. And he said, behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And I love what Moses says here, or what Abraham, still on Moses, what Abraham says. And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And what he was saying was true, whether he provided Isaac or whether he provided something else. He knew he was sacrificing to God, and he was going to do what he asked. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Pretty sure Isaac knows now what's happening. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. He did not delay. He did not hesitate. He's just doing it. And as hard as this was, he was probably wasting no time. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. He answers the same way. Here am I. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Too many times we withhold the things that matter the most to us from God. He wants to be first. And if we put him first, he will take care of all these things. But we're kind of binding him, limiting him when we put these things first instead of him. We're getting it backward. We're getting it wrong. And we're not in his perfect will. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Even your promise, even your firstborn son, even your whatever is so important to you. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. He prophetically spoke before. This is where our words are so important. I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. He spoke that is what would happen, even though it was against all odds. It was against everything he knew he had to do. He spoke it anyway. And then when Isaac asked, he spoke again. God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. He spoke that also. And then what happened? Exactly what he had spoke. Those two things both came to pass. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. Now, sometimes when we've heard from God, we don't want to hear from, I'm guilty. I've said it before. You know what? I've seen what you have to say. I don't want to see anything else. This is too hard. Don't, and shut off that line of communication with God. And just because I was scared of what he would say. So here comes the angel of the Lord again, after just getting an instruction like this. And then you want to come to me again? Okay. So he had to be like, but he didn't. I mean, was he really, or is that just my reaction? Because he probably had no fear. He's a man of faith that has, and heal my unbelief, Lord, that when I see you approaching, it doesn't matter if it scares me, I will do it anyway. I want that encounter. I want that instruction. I want that guidance in my life. And I do want him first. Okay, the angel of the Lord comes to him a second time and said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. He knew the importance of this. He knew how he felt about Isaac. He knew his love for him. He knew what this meant, what he was asking him to do. Then he turns around and listen to this, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. Y'all, you ever been to the ocean? There's so much sand. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Obedience. 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 Because he did what he asked. He's just pouring out all these blessings on him. Not just him, but for generations. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. So promise follows obedience. Here he is thinking he's sacrificing the promise, thinking he's giving up his son, but he's getting all these blessings on top of that. It's just, there are tests. We go through trials. And I heard someone speak the other day that we have to say, what is God telling me in this? Instead of focusing on the circumstances, he could have been completely bewildered that he was fixing to lose his son. But instead he was obedient to God, and he was acting in faith, and he instead was blessed just beyond anything he could have imagined. He's saying, no other gods before me. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt have no Isaacs before me. Thou shalt have no other things in front of me. And we've come from, thou shalt, it's like, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And we're like up here. No other gods, right there. But instead, one thing, we drop to here because we've got one thing in front of us. And then another thing, and we're dropping. And we're just going all the way down here. The message of today was what? Don't put me last. He wants to be up here, and we've got him all the way down here. Don't put me last. Don't put me last. And I can't help but think, this comes to mind as we do this. tactfully say this. I know what it's like to be put on the back burner. Marriages are hard. I do have marriage behind me. I do know what it's like. I do know what it requires. And career, my husband's career or choices or whatever he was doing, put us, the kids and I, completely on the back burner. It's like that one thing that's just simmering back there. It might as well be a pot of beans. It's going to be there for hours. Just turn it on low, leave it there. But this stuff that I'm doing up here, I've got to pay attention to. I literally felt like I was on the back burner for years. And looking back, I didn't want to be on the back burner. I didn't want to be on the bottom. I didn't want the kids and I to be last. And I'm sure I expressed it, but did I express it well enough? Did I actually say it? Or did I complain about it? Did I just keep it inside? Did I even complain about it? Because I probably didn't. I probably just said nothing. Sometimes we just assume things are the way that they're going to be, and we absorb it into us, and we just fight it for what, or accept it. But did I actually say out loud in a calm way, in a constructive way, did I express my feelings to him and say, hey, I don't want to be on the back burner. Here's what I feel. I feel like you've shoved us to the back. Like there's some security that, they'll be there when I need them, but my focus isn't on them. I'm not making time for them. I'm not investing in them. I'm not, they're just there. Did I say that? Did I express that? Did I communicate that? Communication is key in any relationship. Communication is key in every relationship. If you don't have it, you may be in the relationship, but is the relationship successful? The relationship may last years and years and years, but is it good? Is it rewarding? Are you both happy? Now that's a checkpoint you need to come to all the time. Hey, are you happy? Because so many times things fall apart and they're like, I didn't know they weren't happy. Communication is key. It's key. What does a key do? It opens the door. It unlocks things. Communication, yeah, it unlocks things. It allows you to enter places that you've never been before. Communication is key. There's a reason why they say that. It is a key to unlocking feelings, to unlocking problems, to unlocking solutions, to unlocking happiness, to unlocking hurts, to unlocking the desires of our hearts, to unlocking how to work things out. Communication is key. And again, I say to you what we started with. God is communicating. He's literally saying, don't put me last.